Hello and welcome to the vlog. This will be my first vlog ever, actually. I'm not a YouTuber, not a vlogger. However, I just recently had a life event happen, a procedure that I figured was important enough to vlog. And I know there's a lot of guys out there, and girls, who are looking to have some more information on this given subject. So basically what I just did yesterday, after thinking about it for a couple years, is I solved the number one self-conscious problem that I've been living with since I was about 21. I'm 27 now, so 5-6 years I've been dealing with this self-conscious struggle. So what I started learning was that there's actually a way to fix your balding. And this is what I just did yesterday. Good morning. I'm not a morning person at all. It is 5:45 a.m. right now. I've been up for an hour. Actually, I've been up several hours, if I'm being honest. About to drive 1 hour to get my procedure done. And I still have my locks. And ironically, it's a good hair day today, for a change. But soon, I'll be looking very different. So, let's start the journey right now. Okay, long day at the clinic. And it is approximately 13 hours later, on less than 3 hours of sleep last night. I happened to get about 10 minutes of sleep while I was having the procedure. Just got home, and here is the result. What I had done was called an FUE hair transplant procedure, which is basically when the doctor and the clinic and their staff extract up to thousands of follicles from the back of your head, where you never tend to really lose that much hair. They take those follicles, they extract them one by one, and then they relocate them to the area of trouble, where you're actually losing the hair or bald already. And so I had a 2400 graft procedure done yesterday. Recreated my hairline. I'll show you a few pictures and videos of how it was looking before this point, just so you have an idea. But basically, this was quite a transformation. They say it's gonna be, a few weeks before you even start seeing the hairs kind of growing out, up to 4 or 5 months to have relatively noticeable results, but truly about 10 to 12 months before you have those desired results. So now technically this is day 1 for me on a long journey of regrowing those golden locks that I didn't really have, but pretended to have. Kept wearing hats every time I went out somewhere, just hiding the problem. And so yeah, I figured I would just kind of describe this journey to you guys, for anyone who really wants to know what it's like. If you have a thinning or balding problem yourself and you've just been trying all kinds of things and never having a solution and just looking for answers, hopefully this can provide some of those answers. I can tell you what I have been doing before actually pulling the trigger on this procedure. is I learned about a prescription, a medication called finasteride, otherwise Propecia, that in some countries you can just get it off the shelf in any store, any pharmaceutical store. But here in America, you actually have to have a prescription from your doctor to take it. What this does is essentially shuts off the DHT, something testosterone, to the follicles, which is a chemical that actually kills the follicles little by little. So that shuts off that chemical essentially over time. And I've been taking that for 2 years now. There technically is some side effects that can occur for some people. I think it's very, very low amount of people have sexual drive side effects and maybe some depression side effects like that. I'm lucky not to be one of those people. So I've been on finasteride / Propecia for 2 years now. I do think it stabilized the hair loss, but I don't think that it brought any hair back. I don't think it actually regrew any hair. So on top of that, after noticing it wasn't really bringing back the hair, that I kind of falsely assumed would happen, I started taking Rogaine, topical foam Rogaine. I also have been using shampoos, conditioners that are anti-thinning or claim to help regrow the hair. Again, for myself, I don't think any of those products actually brought back any of my hair. I have heard some people have had some luck with some of those products. I was lucky enough to stop the hair loss at a certain point. It started real young for me, about 20 or 21 years old. And I actually had some female friends notice that I had a receding thing going on before even myself did. So thanks to them for letting me know exactly what's happening. But anyways, those 5 or 6 years just progressively got worse until I found a way to do something about it. I started doing all kinds of research, started applying some of these products, but nothing ever really gave me the results that I needed. So about 2 years ago, the same time I started taking finasteride, I started looking into this procedure, FUE, follicular unit extraction, and just started considering it, understanding that's probably an option down the road if I really want to do it. An expensive option, I should add. There's also a very similar procedure called FUT, which is basically just when they take a full strip of the back of your scalp that contains also up to thousands of follicles, all in one move. They take that strip and then extract those follicles directly from that strip and then relocate them into the scalp. So they're very different methods in some ways, but very similar in some ways. In the FUT, which is not the procedure I had done, in the FUT, when they take that strip of your scalp, they end up either sewing or stapling that opening closed, and then you just basically start to heal little by little. And the FUE, they basically punch a ton of holes in the back of your head, and I'll show you what that looks like in a second, because they're basically extracting one follicle at a time. So instead of having one large, long scar that's obviously permanent, you have all these tiny little holes that leave smaller scars, and for some people can fade to where they almost never existed in appearance. So that was the one for me, because I never know if I want to have a short hairstyle or not. This is the first time I've actually ever had my hair this short since I was born. And I gotta say, I kind of like it more than I expected. I don't plan to keep it, but it's nice to know the option is there if I decided to one day, just start wearing my hair super short. So here's what that looks like in the back. So depending on the individual, the donor area can be pretty small or it could be somewhat large. In my case, I think it was a pretty large donor area. It's because I had so much thick, luscious hair in the back that I wish I had in the front. And so they were able to take most of the area of the back and some of the sides up to the ear, all as donor hair. Cost. Let's talk cost. So I had done some research, over the last couple of years on the general costs of what this procedure might take, and I had been reading anywhere from $4,000 to $10,000, and I said, "Oh, it'll probably be closer to the high end, that 10,000. Maybe I'll expect 8,000." So when I really started getting serious about this 6 months ago, I started setting up a couple of consultations because I wanted more than one opinion, more than one clinic, more than one doctor and experience package to choose from, as well as price. So I did that, and it turned out the price was extremely similar, almost exactly the same at both clinics. I narrowed it down to 2, and the price was quite a bit more significant, at least here in Colorado, than I had anticipated, and that was $13,500. So essentially buying another, average car and completely financing it, which I don't need another car, but anyways, I added that to my debt, and I'm financing that now at this point, $13,500, and financing that over 3 years, roughly $350 a month. So there's a lot of options of how to actually finance the procedure with most clinics. Some clinics actually offer the financing directly. Some clinics will actually set you up with their partner lender, such as a lending club, Care Credit in my case. There's a bunch of different options out there, but yeah, you definitely don't have to feel like this is just completely straight out of pocket, and you can chip away at that cost. So yeah, anyways, a quick rundown of the day yesterday. I had to be there at 7 a.m. It's an hour drive for me, so I was up at about 4:45 so I can make breakfast, get ready, showered, head out the door, and be there on time, because you definitely want to be there on time for such an important procedure. Don't want to delay anyone or make the doctor angry with you or anything. But once I got there, there was probably a half hour to 45 minutes of just a preliminary setup and talk and drawing the hairline, which I'll also show you some pictures of that as well. Then before we know it, we're heading to the operation room, where I said goodbye to my 6 or 7 inch locks that I had down to here, and again, hadn't had shorter than 4 inches or so in 10 years, and never this short since I was born. So that was a little bit strange, but also relieving at the same time, because I knew it was hair that was failing me. It was hair that was abandoning me. So although I missed it, at the same time, I knew it was a relief and had to be done, and felt a lot more agile, quicker, and just a little bit released, So once we did that, started numbing me up, which was probably the worst part of the day. I counted probably between 30 and 40 shots of the numbing process all throughout. Mostly the back to start with, because that's where they first extract the follicles from. And I thought, once we do the numbing shots, it's going to be over and done with. It's just a part of the process, and then it's done for the rest of the day. So it was about 30 to 40 numbing shots initially, and then throughout the procedure, there was a lot of little moments where I needed some extra juice because I was feeling some pain with the drill pen, and as well as the site maker, which is a needle. So another 20 numbing shots after the initial 30 to 40. So that's probably the worst part of the day. It's not unbearable, but I was glad to know that the end of that was there. So they take those follicles first. That takes about, I don't know, roughly 2 to 3 hours, 4 hours in some cases. And for my case, 2,400 grafts. It took probably 2.5, 3 hours. After that, it was lunchtime. They gave me a 20-minute lunch break, which was really all I needed. And then we began to make all the sites where those grafts that they had extracted are now going to be placed back into the scalp. So they essentially take a large needle, not nearly as large as the extractor tool, but they take that needle and make all these new homes, these new holes for those extracted follicles. And they're a little tighter so that those follicles will just squeeze into place, and then your body will start to accept them, start to absorb the DNA of those follicles. And I asked the doctor, would this work if it wasn't my own hair, if it wasn't my own follicles, my own DNA? And she said, no, it'll actually totally reject it. It might cause some kind of infections. So that's just not possible, actually. So the donor hair has to be your own donor hair, turns out, which was just kind of interesting to me. Anyways, another couple hours of placing the grafts into place, the new grafts, and it was all said and done. Got out of my little hospital gown, back into my own clothes. They do recommend that you wear a button-up shirt or a shirt with a very large opening like this, so that you don't risk pulling on any of those grafts. So that's important. If they don't, happen to let you know that before the procedure, you should probably wear a shirt like that. Also, be very careful. I've heard of guys bumping their heads on, the car getting in after the procedure, or really tall guys, bumping their heads on the door frame or something like that. And that's something you really want to be careful about, because that can actually knock out a handful of follicles, and then obviously that's something that needs to be readdressed again back in the operating room, or you just end up having a patch of empty grafts, and you don't want that. Anyways, guys, this is going to be the very first video of several. I'm going to basically document this journey for you, anyone who's curious, has questions about the process, and is considering, this route for yourself, or for someone who's, expressed an interest. So yeah, I'll probably do weekly or monthly checkups with several pictures. I might do a time-lapse video of several pictures I take of my dome as I grow those luscious locks back out. I do want to keep my old style eventually. I want to be able to grow out my hair to what it was, but also where it's supposed to be as well. So any questions you guys have, please leave a comment. I will do my very best to get back with any answers that you have questions for. Please feel free to leave me a like and a subscribe, and I'll definitely do my best to provide any other information, or any moral support if you're planning on doing this yourself. I think it's something I really needed to do, and I'm just relieved that day one is here, and I've just been living with this insecurity for so long, and now it's actually taken care of, and I feel like I'm about to live my life comfortable and confident on a level that I'd never had before. So I'm hoping that anyone watching this, considering that can have that same feeling and have the same reasons to do it. Anyways, guys, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.